Hi, I'm Grayson. For 31 years, I paid rent on a house I thought belonged to my family. Turns out my own brother-in-law was cashing every check behind my back. He told folks I was just staying out of pity. My name was erased, my legacy stolen. And the worst part? My late wife knew. She tried to warn me, quietly. So why didn't I listen? Every morning, same thing. I walk out my front door, down the uneven steps, Mama never let go unrepaired, and make my way to the old rusted mailbox, bolted crooked on the chain link fence. For 31 years, that routine's been as steady as sunrise. First of the month, check to Charles. Same amount, same address, same weight in my chest. You see, this house, Mama's house, it still smells like lemon pledge when the sun hits just right. Floorboards creak in the same exact spots they did when I was 10. But it's never truly felt like mine. Not in the way a man's home should. Not when you're paying rent to your own sister's husband. Month after month, decade after decade. Charles always had that smug smile, like a man who thought doing the bare minimum made him a saint. You can't outgive a man who never gave with love, Mama used to say. I didn't get it then. I do now. That morning, though, something felt off, like the silence of the house was trying to speak up. Like I was waking up from a long nap and realizing, maybe I ain't just been paying rent. Maybe I've been played. Later that afternoon, I picked up the phone and called Charles. He answered like he always did, loud, rushed, annoyed like I was stealing his time. Roof's leaking in the back, I told him. Just a couple shingles. You think we can send someone out before the rain hits? He didn't skip a beat. You don't own nothing there, Grayson. Remember that. It wasn't just the words, it was how he said nothing, like he'd been waiting to remind me. I sat there a second. Let it sink. Ain't it about time I see the paperwork, Charles? I said slowly. Just, for clarity, I've been paying you all these years. He chuckled. You ain't got no claim. Ask your mama's spirit if you don't believe me. That hit something in me. Not anger. Not yet. Just a cold stillness. I hung up without another word. That night, I pulled out an old notebook from the drawer and wrote my first line. If nobody gonna believe me later, I better have it written down now. I hadn't written in a journal since the 8th grade, but something told me I'd need my own truth in ink. The next day, the memories started knocking. Mama's funeral, 31 years back. Her casket was blue, with silver handles she never would have picked. Charles stood tall beside me in that parking lot, hand on my shoulder. I'll handle the house, he said. Just send rent to me each month. Don't you worry, brother. And I didn't. I was drowning in grief. Just buried my mother. I didn't ask for no deed, no lease. Just wrote the first check and dropped it in the mailbox. But thinking back now, I ain't never seen no will, no title, nothing. I just trusted him, I said out loud in my empty kitchen, and the words sounded stupid the moment they left my mouth. I called him again that week. Charles, I need a copy of the lease, I said firm. Click. He hung up. That's when I knew. This wasn't about paperwork. This was about something taken. I turned the house inside out. Every drawer, box, envelope, closet. I climbed into the attic even though my knees screamed at me. Dust thick enough to choke you. Then, at the bottom of a cracked suitcase, tucked under old family photos, I found it. A yellowed envelope, handwritten on the front. For Grayson, Mama. My hands shook. I opened it. Empty. Nothing inside. Just old air and old hope. Did it ever have something in it? Did Charles find it first? Take whatever was meant for me? My heart didn't race. It thudded slow and heavy like betrayal wrapped in Sunday silence. That night, I sat at the kitchen table under that flickering overhead bulb Mama never let stay burned out too long. I wrote in my journal, a man can live 30 years a fool and not know until the light switch don't work. Phone buzzed. Text from Charles, same thing it always said, rent due Monday, drop it off by noon. I stared at the screen. That was the moment I knew. Something in this house wasn't just taken from me, it was stolen. A week passed. Not much changed, at least outside. The leaves inched their way toward rust and gold, clinging to the last days of summer. Inside me, though, something shifted. I didn't mail that rent check. First time in over 30 years. And that silence between me and Charles, it was loud. I went over to Miss Jeanette's house, 3 doors down. She used to work for a property company back in the day. Knew things most folks forgot to ask. She opened the door, looked me up and down, then motioned me in without a word. We sat at her dining room table like old times, the air smelling faintly of shea butter and old wood polish. "Jeanette," I said, "I got a question that's been eating at me." She folded her arms, already nodding. "Is this about your mama's house?" I blinked. "How'd you s— Boy, everybody on this street know you still paying rent like it's 1992. If you've been paying 31 years and never saw a deed, baby, you better wake up." Her voice didn't shake. It landed. "I thought it was handled after Mama passed. Charles said—" She cut me off. "Charles always talks slick. That man used to strut around here like he invented concrete." She told me about her cousin, lived in a house her uncle said was hers. 30 years later, the bank came knocking. No deed, no rights. Cousin ended up sleeping on couches. And her uncle, dead and buried with the truth. "You need to go down to the county office," she said. "Don't ask nobody else. Don't wait for permission. Go see what's really yours." I walked home in silence. That silence where the truth hangs in the air, waiting. Next morning, I dressed like I was headed to church. Pressed slacks, clean button-up, jacket I hadn't worn since retirement. Took the bus downtown to the Wayne County Register of Deeds. Place smelled like bleach and stale coffee, lines long enough to grow roots. When I got to the counter, I slid the form across. "Looking for property records under Claudette B. Owens," I said. The clerk typed, clicked, frowned. "This house still listed under Claudette," she said. I stared. "No transfer filed?" "Nope. Far as we got it, nobody's filed a new deed since she passed. That property's been floating legally speaking for decades." "Nothing under Charles Owens?" "Not a thing." I felt the air leave my lungs, not fast, slow, like someone letting the truth drip out drop by drop. All these years. And he never filed nothing. Just took over. Told me to send the check. And I did. Like a fool. I didn't say thank you. I walked out of there like I was carrying a coffin on my back. That evening, I found myself in the basement. Hadn't been down there much since Mama passed. Damp walls, rusted tools, and that old safe tucked behind the water heater. I stared at it. Tried Mama's birthday, nothing. Then tried my sister's, July 18th, 1955. Click. Inside was time itself. Faded photos, her wedding ring, a couple old deeds for a family plot down south. But not this house. Just one little key labeled shed. The shed. Mama's little haven. I hadn't opened it in years. Walked outside, sun already dipping, sky purpling. The shed stood like it had always stood, quiet, crooked, and waiting. The lock snapped after 2 hits with the hammer. Inside, dust swirled, cobwebs stretched like time itself had woven them. Gardening tools, rusted bike, her old stool, and under a blue tarp, a small lockbox. I cracked it open. Tax receipts. More photos. Then a manila folder. Claudette's will. Heart in my throat, I opened it. Empty. Except for one envelope, sealed with red wax. But the seal had been broken, sloppily, not recently. I pulled it out slow. No deed inside. Just air again. Somebody had beat me to it. Somebody who knew what to look for. Charles. I stood there in that shed, holding nothing but a story half erased. My jaw clenched, eyes stung, not from dust, but from knowing I'd been played like a record on repeat. I sat on the porch after, the night settling around me, gripped that old envelope like it could still speak. 31 years, 31 lies, I whispered. Phone rang. Charles. "Did you send the rent?" I didn't answer, but I wasn't mailing nothing this time. I was about to mail the truth, straight to hell if I had to. I held the phone loosely in my hand, waiting. I dialed Charles again, heart pounding behind my ribs. "Charles," I said, voice steady though my mind shook. "We need to talk about that deed. You say you handled the house, but I've never seen proof." On the other end, his laugh crackled. "You never asked, Grayson. Don't act like you own something you never claimed." "I'm asking now," I said. "Show me a receipt, a signature, anything. Don't gaslight me." He kept laughing. "Don't play me like I'm dumb." I muted the mic, let his voice echo in the silence. Then I unmuted, recorded the rest, because if he lies, I'll trap him in his own words. Later, I slipped into the church where Mama used to lead hymn practice, quiet now, dust motes dancing in the fading sun. I asked the pastor for access to old ledgers, donations, property gifts, anything under Mama's name. He hesitated, then nodded. In those old pages, I found her name, Claudette Hexton, real property gift to Grayson. Then a separate note, Charles Duane, oversight, house maintenance. My hands trembled as I took pictures, proof that someone tried to bury truth under goodwill. Back home, I cracked open the yellowed envelope I'd found in Chapter 2. Inside was a letter in Eula May's handwriting. Don't let him rewrite your legacy. Her words cut clean. She warned that Charles asked to help manage things. She suspected him. She kept her fear hidden for years. She never mailed it. She tucked it away, maybe hoping I'd find it someday. That night, I walked over to Charles's house under the pretext of peace. I carried the ledger pages in my jacket pocket. He opened the door, brows raised. What's this? These are records you can't fake, I said quietly, pressing them forward. He stared, then waved a dismissive hand. Those are fake prints. For all I know, you doctored them yourself. I looked him in the eye. You've been living off me all these years. He slams the door. The sound rattles my bones. I stand there in the dusk, everything slowed, watching his profile fade behind dark glass. Back inside, in the basement, I place Mama's letter beside the ledger photos on the workbench. She trusted me. I'll not let her die with secrets. I whisper. A knock at the door jars me dark. The sun was dipping low when I walked up the church steps again. Shadows stretched long over the brick and stained glass. I carried a manila folder under my arm, ledger pages, prints from the tape, all of it. The dusk felt tight in my chest. At the door, I paused, steadying my breath before I asked Mr. Dolores if she'd help me see the old tapes. She shook her head at first. Mr. Hexton, we didn't keep many tapes, she said, voice quiet. But I've got records she never kept hidden for nothing, I said. I've got ledgers that prove more than words. She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she nodded. Basement vault. There may be cameras from back then. In the dim basement room, boxes lined the walls. She fed a VHS tape into a player with trembling fingers. Static hissed, and then grainy night footage. A silhouette outside my windows, back in years gone by. A man creeping up the steps. He carried a folder. He moved as if he felt the house breathe, slow, deliberate. I leaned forward. That figure slipped toward our safe in the basement, my safe, years before I even knew it existed. The door opened, the man placed the folder inside, then stepped away. The window shutter creaked. He looked up. I froze when the face flickered. Charles. My heart pounded in my throat. The evidence lay before me. Denial collapsed under grainy film. I watched him again and again, frames stretching like truth unraveling. Later, upstairs, I rewound a recorded call I made earlier. I flipped the sound backward, listening close. Between reversed phrases, I caught the whisper, I'll make sure the deed never surfaces. Over and over, masked by static. It was him. I sat there, stunned. The man I trusted had plotted in whispered silence. Rage churned low, dangerous, but my face stayed still. I didn't act right away. I snapped photos of the tape, the call, backed up files. I called Tynesha. She came over. We pored over the evidence in the living room. I taught her how to preserve digital copies. She watched, sharp. She and I agreed to hide backups off-site. Protect the truth. I said softly, I won't walk into his trap again. Evening light faded. The VHS still played on the old TV, static drifting. I sat, arms folded, listening to ghosts. Then a knock on the door. A legal knock. Cold. Urgent. It was near twilight when I walked up to Gershon Delroy's porch. The wood creaked under my feet like it remembered who I was. Gershon opened the door slow, like he half expected to see a ghost. Grayson, he said, ain't seen you in, 15 years? Closer to 20, I nodded. He studied my face, then stepped aside. Well, come on in. I sat down in his living room, old jazz playing low from the corner radio. Gershon watched me cautious until I pulled out the church ledger prints and that grainy screenshot from the VHS. I didn't say much. I just let him look. After a long silence, he stood, walked over to a loose floorboard near the hallway and pried it up. From inside, he pulled a plastic-wrapped paper, yellowed but real. "This right here," he said. "I've been holding on to it. Ever since Claudette told me where she hid it, I never forgot." It was the original deed. Her name. No mention of Charles, just mine. My knees got weak, but I held it together. "You kept this for me," I said, barely above a whisper. "Wasn't for you," he said. "It was for her. She trusted me with something. I don't break that." Back home, Tynesha and I laid out every paper we had, his, ours, the ledger entries. She wore those gloves you see archivists use, flipping each page with care. In the chain of title records, we spotted something off. Charles' name showed up years later under a document called caretaker deed. Looked official, until we noticed what wasn't there. "Where's your signature, Grandpa?" Tynesha asked. "Nowhere," I said, "because I never signed a damn thing." She narrowed her eyes. "Then this ain't legal. This is fake." He'd filed a maintenance agreement, dressed it up to look like he had a claim. But it was forged. I said under my breath, "He tried to dress up lies as law." She tapped her finger on the date. "We can challenge this. You've got enough now." I nodded, not just with my head, but with everything in me. I called Charles. Didn't waste words. "I got the deed, Charles, the real one, and the title chain. You've been writing your name where it don't belong." His voice cracked a little. "I did what I had to do to keep this place standing. You weren't stepping up." "You forged my name," I said. He scoffed. "You too old to fight this. Too slow." I didn't say nothing back. I just listened. Then came the click. He hung up. Tynesha looked at me and whispered, "He's scared." The next morning, we took it all to a legal clinic down on Jefferson and Pro Bono Place. Mostly women lawyers with sharp eyes and sharper minds. We laid out the papers, the call recording, that faded tape. One of them, Miss Alvarez, sat back and crossed her arms. "You've got a case. A strong one, but be careful. If we push too fast, he might countersue, claim you're not late evening again." My house was silent but for the hum of the fridge and the ticking of a clock that always seemed behind. I sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, files scattered like puzzle pieces. 2 days had passed since the last call, but I'd slept like a man waiting for a storm. Then it came. An email. No name, no subject, just house files. My finger hovered, then clicked. Scanned papers opened across the screen. Legal letterhead, a power of attorney dated right after Mama's funeral. Charles's name typed neat. My mother's signature looping at the bottom. For a moment it hit me in the chest. The slant of her C, the way she curved her T. But it was wrong, a forgery wearing her dress. "They tried to cloak illusion as law," I whispered. Page after page showed how he'd claimed control while I was still burying her. I leaned back, heart thudding. Betrayal burned, but it also cleared my head. The next morning, Tynesha and I walked into Mrs. Alvarez's office at the legal clinic. We laid the email printouts on her desk. She leaned forward, brows drawn tight. "This complicates things," she said. "He could argue he had authority under this. If the court accepts it, we're looking at months of litigation." Tanisha spoke up. "What about handwriting analysis?" "That's the right move," Ms. Alvarez said. "We'll also petition the court to freeze the power until it's verified. Don't give him room to maneuver." I sat still, hands folded. "No more waiting," I said quietly. "We move now." Later that night, my phone buzzed again. This time Charles himself. Subject line, "Enough." I opened it. His words were slick, almost rehearsed. "Stop this nonsense. You're obsessed. You're making a fool of yourself. I'll sue for defamation if you don't back off." He called me unstable, accused me of harassment. I read it aloud to Tynesha. She rolled her eyes. "He's scared." I saved the headers, the timestamp, then deleted the email. On evidence safe, silenced my answer. From then on, I moved like a man who knew the ground under him was mined. Digital backups, One flash drive hidden in my garage, another at Ms. Jeanette's, another with Gershon, hard copies sealed in a downtown safe deposit box. I even set a meeting with Charles under the pretense of talking things out. In my head, it wasn't peace I planned. It was the moment his mask slipped. He thinks I'm cornered, I thought. He underestimates me. That night, I sat again at my kitchen table, the forged power of attorney beside the emails and that grainy tape. My fingers traced the papers like reading Braille, remembering every lie. They tried to erase me, I whispered, but they forgot I remember. Then my phone buzzed. A news alert. Local news. House dispute. Protest outside Charles's office. I scrolled down. A photo loaded on the screen. My blood froze. It had been exactly 7 days since I found that forged document. 7 days of walking through the house like it could split open at any moment. I barely slept. My meals tasted like paper. That night, it was quiet. Too quiet. And I guess my body forgot how to rest. Until it heard something I didn't expect. A soft thud. Then slow, careful steps across the hall. I sat up without breathing, slid out of bed, and reached for the old bat I kept under the dresser. Made my way to the stairs. The sound was closer now. Someone in the living room, rustling papers, maybe drawers. I moved down each step like I was walking on glass. Then I saw it. A shape crouched by the safe box behind the bookshelf. A man, not Charles, but someone I'd seen beside him before, always standing just behind him like a shadow. I didn't hesitate. I flicked on the lamp beside the couch. "Get your hands off my stuff." He jumped like I'd slapped him. Eyes wide, one hand still inside the box. Then he stood and pulled something from his coat, a folder, thin, white, too clean. "Sign this," he said, his voice trembling, though he tried to sound tough. "Sign it now or you lose everything, you hear me? Everything. You break into my home to threaten me?" I stepped closer. "You don't get it. This house, this whole thing, Charles already owns it. You just holding us back." I saw the edge of panic in his posture. He hadn't expected me to stand firm. "You want to threaten somebody? Go tell Charles to come do it himself." I wasn't yelling. My words came slow and even, but each one pushed him back. He waved the document again. "You need to sign this. If not..." I stepped right into his space. "No." We locked eyes. He took a shaky breath, dropped the paper on the floor, and ran out the front door. I shut it behind him. Deadbolt, chain. Then I picked up the folder using an envelope. Inside was a power of attorney form. Fully filled out with my forged signature granting Charles control over everything. The date said last month. Same handwriting as the last fake. They were getting bolder. I called Miss Alvarez. Her voice came on fast, alert like she was already awake. "He tried to force me to sign something," I said. "Broke into my house to do it." "Did you touch anything? Did he threaten you directly?" "Yeah, but he ran. Left the paper behind." "Don't confront him. Don't call. Keep everything. We file in the morning." Emergency motion to void it all. I nodded into the phone. "We'll stop this." She paused, then said, "You've got till 10 a.m. I'll file by noon. Just make sure no one else gets to that safe." I hung up, looked around the living room like it belonged to someone else. Then I walked to the back, grabbed my flashlight, and headed out to the shed. The air was thick, damp with late-night mist. I pried open the shed door and aimed the beam across old boxes. In the corner, behind a panel that had come loose, I saw something thin, folded. A contract. Looked official. Lease agreement. Charles listed as tenant with full financial and residential claim, dating back to 1994. It even had my mother's signature, but it was off. The ink was darker than it should have been, the pressure too uniform. It wasn't her hand, not really. Just a decent imitation. I took pictures, every page, saved them twice, phone, drive. Then I slid the folder into my locked bag and walked back inside. I sat at the kitchen table, the fake lease in front of me, next to the forged power of attorney. They were trying to rewrite history. I stared at her signature. "You forged her name," I said quietly. "You stole her legacy." My phone buzzed. Text from Charles. "Quit this or it gets worse." I looked down at the lease one more time. My eyes stopped at the date she supposedly signed it. It matched the day she died. The courthouse buzzed with something you could feel in your bones. Not noise, tension. I walked through the front doors like I was walking into the last mile of a long road. Tanisha held the briefcase. Gershon walked tall beside us. I kept my eyes forward, but I saw the faces. Neighbors, folks from church, a couple of the old tenants. Some nodded, some didn't, all watching. The courtroom looked bigger than I remembered. High ceilings, old wood that smelled of polish and dust. The gallery was full. Charles sat already at the defense table. Calm, no sweat, no twitch, just calm like this was another Sunday meeting. His lawyers leaned in whispering. When the judge walked in, everything stilled, even the air. I stood without thinking, hands clenched, jaw tight. I told myself, just tell the truth, let the truth walk with you. Our lawyer started slow. The VHS tape came first, blurry but clear enough. Charles rummaging through Mama's safe. Then the deed Gershon uncovered, time-stamped, notarized. Then the forged power of attorney, left behind after that break-in at my house. The judge leaned in. No reactions yet. Then Tanisha stood. She went to work on the handwriting expert. Cool. Sharp. Can you confirm this signature matches Mr. Charles Harris's handwriting? She asked. The expert hesitated, then explained ink flow patterns, inconsistent pressure, wrong pen types. You could feel the room start to shift. She pulled up the ledgers. Church funds. The judge's brow furrowed. Multiple entries, she said. Same dates, same initials. Then came the scanned church records, connected directly to Charles. The gallery let out a collective breath. Some gasped. The judge said, "Let's proceed." Charles's team objected fast, scrambling. The judge overruled them. I sat silent, palms sweating, heart knocking against my ribs. Then Charles's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, our client has long suffered accusations from a relative with a troubled history," he began. "Mr. Grayson Harris's recollections are inconsistent. He misremembers events." They slid a document forward, some supposed waiver I'd signed 20 years back. The font didn't even match. Still, they leaned on it. "Chain of title accepted by silence," the lawyer said, looking right at the judge. He never challenged it until now. Then Charles stood, turned to the gallery. "My brother," he said, voice soft. "He's been through a lot. I've tried to keep peace, to protect what Mama left us. I never wanted this." I almost spoke, but something in me said, "Wait, not yet." Tanisha pulled out one last envelope. She handed it to the bailiff, who brought it to the judge. "A letter," she said, "from the late Eula Harris." My chest tightened. The judge opened it, read. "My husband Grayson does not know I am writing this," the letter began. "But if this ever sees the light of day, let it be known. Charles told me he removed those documents before." 2 weeks after the verdict, I stood in front of the house again. The same bricks, same porch swing creaking in the breeze. But it felt different now. Quiet, like it had exhaled a breath it had been holding in for years. I reached for the doorknob. My hand hesitated. Then I turned the key, stepped inside. Dust had settled where life used to buzz. Each room whispered back memories as I walked through. The dent in the wall from when Marcus threw his cleats too hard, the spot in the kitchen where Eula used to dance barefoot while stirring stew. I touched the hallway wall and stared at the family photo still hanging crooked. There we were, whole, once. In the back bedroom, I noticed a loose floorboard, same one I used to tell the kids to avoid. I pried it up. Beneath it, tucked away, was a folded napkin. Her handwriting. "Keep standing." Just that. 2 words that hit like thunder. She'd always known how to speak straight to my center. That same week, neighbors trickled in one by one. Mr. Langston from across the street brought a ladder. Miss Yvette came with her boys and buckets of paint. Word had gotten out. The house needed mending, and folks showed up like it was their own. One morning, a group from New Hope Baptist knocked on the door. "We're organizing a fix-up day," the pastor said. "About time this place got its soul back." On the porch, I spoke to everyone. This house may have been stolen, I told them, but it never stopped being home. Heads nodded, hands clapped. I caught Mrs. Jeanette's eye. She just smiled and passed me a warm casserole without saying a thing. That day blurred into laughter, hammering, sweat, paint stains, gospel humming through open windows. Life breathed back into the walls. Tynacia, always one step ahead, brought me a notebook. Start writing it all down, Daddy. The good, the bad, all of it. I didn't argue. The following Sunday, I went to see her. The cemetery was quiet, birds calling from somewhere I couldn't see. I laid down fresh lilies. I fought back this time, I said, kneeling. For me, for you, for all of it. I told her about court, about Charles, about the letter. I didn't hold back, the anger, the relief, the ache that never left. I touched the stone, ran my fingers over her name. I ain't let bitterness take me, I whispered. And I ain't letting it take this house either. Then I kissed my fingertips and laid them on the cool marble. Just sat there, let the wind speak. Later that evening, Tynacia came down from the attic holding an old box. You need to see this. Written on the lid, faded but clear. For G, if I'm gone. Inside was a cassette labeled in her hand. I stared at it, heart pounding. We found an old player in the hall closet, still worked. I pressed play. Her voice poured out like it had never left me. Grayson, she said, calm as ever, if you're hearing this, you made it through. She talked about Charles, how she'd suspected, watched, waited. Said she never had the proof, but she always believed in my sense of right. Don't carry hate, she said. It's a heavy thing, heavier than any lie. Then her voice softened. There's one more thing I never told you. And the tape ended. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Just sat there, letting her voice echo. That night, the porch was lit gold from the setting sun. Me, Tynacia, Ms. Jeanette sat side by side, sipping sweet tea, watching kids pedal down the street. Life moving forward, whether we ready or not. Maybe we don't ever really win, I said after a while. Maybe we just keep showing up. Tynacia chuckled. Ms. Jeanette nodded slow, like truth had just settled on her shoulders. Silence stretched between us, not empty, but thick with memory. I closed my eyes, felt the breeze roll off the trees. In that moment, there was peace. But peace never stays too long in a house that remembers everything.